Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. For those of you who are new here, my name is Amber. For today's video, it can go one of two ways. It's either going to be a finishing series I'm in the middle of, or at least progressing through series that I'm in the middle of, or finishing my monthly TBR. I'm still just in a weird reading mood. I'm not fully into mood reading, like when I go to pick something, just really nothing sounds good, or like something will sound good and I'll pick it up and then either later that day or the next day I just want something else. So I'm kind of in like a really weird mood, so I don't know if I'm going to do that or if I will just, I don't know. That's going to be the two ways. But before we even start all that, I do want to show my sweatshirts came in. Look how cute this Terracin one is. The Enemies to Lovers one. This one I'm obsessed with. This is like, I love that. Both those sweatshirts are from One Sunday Story. And again, I'll link their Etsy shop down below, but I love them. They are way too cute. Also, ignore that. Just ignore it. I was sitting there reading Minding My Own Business yesterday when my children decided that they were going to fight over a toy, and my 4-year-old decided to rip it back and it clocked me right in my eye. So ignore that, because I'm trying to. Today we are reading The Gilded Cage by Lynette Noni. So this one is part of the Prison Healer series, but in the first one you're following, I don't know if you say it Kavi or Kavi, but you're following her. She is a healer in the Zalandov prison, which is pretty much just like a work camp that most people never make it out of. And she's like helping one of the, I don't know if it's like the warden or like I think it's the warden. She's helping them get notes that are brought in through prisoners and trying to help the warden find who is like running the rebel group within the prison. There was a whole lot. So the rebel queen ends up getting brought in, and she ends up taking the place of the rebel queen for the trial of the ordeal, which are like these 4 trials that are impossible to win. Literally impossible. And if she beats these trials, she's taking them over because the rebel queen is blind and like super sick. So she literally has no chance winning them. So she ends up taking her place. The deal is if she beats all 4 of these trials, then she gets to leave Zalandov. So there's like a whole lot that goes on in that first one, and I really enjoyed the first one. I thought that there was never really any moments that I was bored in that book. So I wanted to pick this one up. I picked this one up yesterday. I'm on page 4. No. So I did get to chapter 5 yesterday, which is page 47. And so far, I am really enjoying it. I'm very curious as to like where this is going to go. Someone on my Instagram, I posted this picture yesterday, and someone on my Instagram said that they absolutely loved this series and that the second book was a little bit infuriating. So I'm mentally preparing myself for that. And I'm just gonna try and like get through this one to get to the last one. I have seen a lot of people say that the last one's their favorite. So we're gonna start with this one. So it has been a very hot minute since I started reading this. I'm pretty sure that I'm hitting like 7 or 8 days, and I have only gotten through this. And it's not because this book is bad. I am a little bit bored though. The biggest thing is just I really haven't had time to sit down at all. I will say that I find myself reading a couple pages of this and going on my phone a lot. I've had a lot of screen time that I could have been reading, and instead I wasn't. The biggest thing with this is just I am 260 pages into this thing, and I feel like there is next to nothing that's happened. There was so much going on in that first book. This book, I feel like there's really nothing going on. There has been a couple small things that are going on towards the plot, but they're boring. There's nothing interesting happening. There's a ton of dialogue and a ton of things that are just reiterated over and over and over again, like the same thoughts, just said differently, and I am bored. But I have heard that the last one's really good. So I'm going to get through this book so that I can read the last one. because I did really enjoy the first one. This one, right now, it's not bad, it's just not great. It's not holding my interest the way I had hoped that it would. I still am very interested to see where this goes, what happens, and how everything gets resolved. I am just taking my sweet old time getting through it. This whole vlog was supposed to start off as like either getting through my TBR, my monthly TBR, or getting through series that I'm in the middle of. And I'm not gonna lie, again, if you've watched my videos before, this will come as zero surprise to you. I mean zero. We're changing the theme of this video again. I know. You're shocked. Mainly because I was just watching, like, I'll put it right here and link her channel in the description. Madison Kate. I was just watching her recent reading vlog while I was reading this, and it was reading books I predict will be 5 stars. And she was talking about When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker. I bought this right when it was released, even though it is Kindle Unlimited, but I stopped paying for Kindle Unlimited, so I'm kind of glad that I bought this anyway and already have it. But this is the first book in the Moonfall series, and I have been putting this off because it is a chunker, and the glossary in this really intimidated me because I'm not kidding you. This right here is just the glossary. I don't know how thick that looks on the camera, but I'm not exaggerating when I say this is like 20 pages long. It's literally 20 pages long. Do you know how that just, like, that right there intimidated me enough to be like, you know what, maybe I'll get through more series first before I decide to pick this up. But in her video, she links a girl's TikTok that, like, goes through and kind of explains the glossary, because I know my brain, if I try and read this, it's gonna be, I'm not gonna grasp anything that was said. I will probably remember one thing out of those 20 pages, and it'll be something that probably doesn't really come up besides like one small portion towards the end. So it'll be me not understanding. But she was talking about how much she loves this book and how she has been carrying this chunker around, and like, even if she just gets 30 seconds, she's picking this up to read this because she's absolutely consumed by that. I'm not hard to please. I'm easily influenced. So of course, immediately I hardcore debated on putting this down and starting this one. But as soon as I read this and I start getting consumed by it, I'm not gonna want to pick that up, and I'm gonna forget everything that I've read so far. So I'm going to force myself to finish this book, and I'm hoping that my want to read this, one, doesn't dissipate before I finish this, so that I can actually read this. But two, I'm hoping that it motivates me to hurry up and finish this, so that I'm not sitting here for another like 8 days. Because at this point, this reading vlog is going to take me 2 weeks, which I'm not too thrilled about, but it is what it is. I mean, I'm in a mild reading slump, so, and just none of the books on my TBR, per usual, of every single month, they just don't sound good to me. Like, every time I look at one of them, I'm like, I should get to that one next, and I'm like, that just doesn't, I don't want it, you know? I'm gonna hurry up and finish this. I'm trying to power read this. I know I won't finish that today, because I have things I have to do later. But I'm hoping by like tomorrow, I'm done with this, and then I can start this. Update time. Finished this like 2 days ago. Forgot to do an update yesterday. So this one is getting like 3.5 stars. Overall, I still like the plot to the story, and I really enjoyed the ending to this. It did make me debate on picking the next one up, because I do want to see where it goes, but I decided to take just like a 1 book break from this. But overall, it just, I felt like there was so much boring parts to this book. You just get so many like mundane conversations, and I get some of them were like building up to where those characters were playing a role in the plot. But I don't know, it just, I felt so bored. It really didn't feel like a lot went on in this book. It kind of reminded me more so of what you would see in the first book to a series, not the second book. If I didn't hear very often on how the next book is better, I probably wouldn't have even kept going with the series. I probably would have just DNF'd this book and not gone on, but I always hear how good the next book is. So I did finish this one. I am excited for the last one because I do like the way, like, where this plot is going. I thought that this book was going to end one way and it definitely ended another. There were definitely some surprises in here that I wasn't expecting to happen, and I did like that about the book. So overall 3.5, because there were still plenty of parts that I did like. It's just overall I was kind of bored. Moving on, I started When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker. So far I'm really enjoying this. I am loving the writing style of this, okay? I did watch, get down below, from the Madison Kate video that I was telling you guys about. She was talking about a girl's TikTok that pretty much sums up the glossary in the beginning, because that glossary is 20 pages long, and I really just like was not grasping what I was reading. Nothing was sticking. So I did watch her video, and that helped a lot. It simplified a lot of things. So I will link that below too. But I am on chapter 7, which is 54 pages in. I didn't really get to read as much as I wanted to yesterday, but so far, like I said, I'm loving this writing style. So basically what I'm getting from this right now is our main character, what is her name? Is it Rave? I don't know how to say it. I'm gonna go with Rave. So far what I'm gathering is the world sits stagnant. It does not rotate on an axis anymore. The sun is at the top, so at the very top of the world you have the scorch. It's very hot. It's like a desert up there. And then in the middle of the earth you have the fade, which is pretty much golden hour is how I've heard it described. There's no day and night cycle. So you have day, but it's spelled D-A-E, and then slumber. But like you never get day and night. It's just up top, always extremely sunny. Middle is kind of that in between, and then the bottom of the earth, the sun doesn't hit, and that's called the shade. So it's very cold, always dark down there. And then you have 3 different types of dragons. So you have, there's also aurora ribbons, and so you have, it's called the aurora cycle, and that's how long it takes for those aurora ribbons to make it around. And that's pretty much the equivalent to a 24-hour day. So they use these ribbon cycles to determine what time it is. So once you I think it's when you can't see them, that's considering like the slumber time, and that's when people sleep typically. And then, so aurora rise is the time that it's dawning on the eastern horizon, and then aurora fall would be when it's setting on the western horizon. So just like a sun, that's what they consider their day cycles through. And then a phase is 1,000 aurora cycles, and that is basically a year. So 1,000 of those is their equivalent to a year. Also within this you have like the gods, and so you have Kalis, who is the god of the aether, and that's like space, the empty nothingness. Nobody can hear that god. And then you have Boulder, who is the god of earth, well, god of ground, but god of earth. Then you have Flode, which is the goddess of air. You have Ignos, which is the god of fire. And I think that might be it. Oh, and then Rain, goddess of water. And then you're following, I think everybody's considered like a fae. And you have 2 different, so you have the fae, and they wear these beads that signify like who they can hear. So you have, if you can hear the goddess of air, you get like a clear bead. If you can hear the god of fire, you get a red bead. The god of ground, you get a brown bead, and then goddess of rain, you get a blue bead. The more beads that they wear, like the more higher up they are. If I'm grasping that right, I think that's how it goes. And then you have the dragons, and each dragon is like kind of set to their own, like the fade, so you have the moon plumes, which those live down in the shade. They're like this silvery metallic dragon. Luminous skin is how they describe it, in shades of gray, pearl, iridescent, and white. They can't handle heat, or else their skin will burn and it will ruin them. And they are like one of the hardest dragons to steal their eggs. Then you have Saber Slice, and they live in the burn. They have more of like fire colored skin, so they have like rust color, brown, reds, brown, black, and gold. They love the heat. They cannot survive in the shade. And they are also hard to charm the dragons or like steal their eggs, which the whole point of that is like you can bond with these dragons. It's easiest to bond if you steal the egg from birth and bond with that egg. You can bond with adult dragons, but it is pretty hard to do so without them just non-existing you instead. And then you also have, in the Fade, you have molten maws. They have these extremely like vibrant, colorful feathers on their body. And it says no two molten maws bear the same color palette. They can travel anywhere in the world comfortably, and they are the easiest dragons to charm and steal their eggs from. Oh, also with the Fae, you have gnolls, and they get like the tips of the ears cut off, and they cannot hear any of the songs from the gods or goddesses. And they are considered like the lesser, so everybody treats them very rudely. They are like the workers of the world. They get the worst jobs, next to no pay, worst living conditions. And so our main character, Rave, is a Elding Blade, which they are like the assassins for the rebellion group, which is called the Fyr Duath. I think that's how you pronounce that. And they are trying to, it says here that they are working to counteract the tyranny leeching across the kingdoms. And like I said, I haven't gotten super far in here, so I don't fully like know where this is even gonna go. A lot of these terms that are in here I haven't even seen used in this book yet, but so far our female main character has already been a badass, and I really like her character and like her thought process and that so far. I'm loving the writing style of this. This world is so interesting. So far it hasn't been very hard to follow along. Like that glossary definitely intimidated me, and I feel like that's a big reason on why I didn't pick this book up in the first place. Is just, it's thick. It just seemed like so much world building to me when I saw that glossary. I was like, I'm just not in the mindset right now to get into that kind of stuff. But honestly, once I watched that TikTok video and started reading this, it's honestly really easy to follow along. It's not confusing at all so far. And yeah, I'm really enjoying this right now. So I'm going to stop rambling and I'm going to go get back to reading this because I want to read this book constantly. This is legit all I've been thinking about lately. Anywhere I go, I'm taking this brick with me. I don't care. I also have it downloaded on my Kindle. I decided to download it last night, but I haven't read on it yet. I think I read for like 5 minutes last night before I went to sleep because the light was off and I didn't want to use my reading light, but I'm enjoying reading the physical copy more. So yeah, anyway, that's my only update right now. If you have been intimidated by this glossary and that's been what's keeping you from picking it up, I right now recommend picking it up because I'm really enjoying it. This is the first time that I've actually had the urge to pick a book up, and that's like all I think about in a while. It's been a hot minute since I've really craved reading like this. So that's a good sign. I'm hoping that it stays like this throughout this book. I'm hoping that I don't hit a spot that just like deters me from it. So anyway, yeah. Okay, so I wanted to do my final thoughts and close out for this video before I forget again. I finished this a couple days ago and I forgot. Anyway, my final thoughts on this are it's getting a 5-star. It's getting a 5-star. Up until like the 60% mark, I was more at like a 3.5 or a 4.5, 4.75, just for the sole purpose of a lot of this first half of the book is kind of confusing, honestly. And it doesn't have anything to do with like the world building or the magic system or anything like that. It's more so of the author gives you a lot of like breadcrumbs to the backstory for the main character. So there's a lot of her memories where you're getting like little snippets. And at first I really liked that, but the longer that it went on, it just mildly kind of felt frustrating with like getting snippets of it and just not getting anywhere with why that was being said or what the point is. But then once you hit like the 60% mark, things start coming together, and it kind of changed like my whole thought on it. It flipped it to where I enjoyed the fact that you kind of got just breadcrumbs because finally things were clicking, and I was like, no. But I really, really loved Rave's character. She is a very strong female main character. She's definitely got like the whole violence is the answer type thing. And I love female main characters with that personality trait. I also really enjoyed Khan's character. I loved their chemistry. I just really enjoyed it. This is like the first book that I've read in a while that has been like in the fantasy genre that has truly made me want to like stay up and read it. And even though this took me, I want to say like 2 weeks to finish it, it was a very frustrating 2 weeks because all I wanted to do was sit down and binge this book, and I just did not have the time to do that. But at the same time, I just didn't want it to end because I feel very invested in these characters. I even really liked Vaya. I think you say it Vaya. I really like her character, and I'm hoping in the next book you get more of her because she's just here a little bit in this book. But yeah, if you are looking for a new fantasy book that has like dragons, I truly feel like this is a good combo of like Throne of Glass. I don't know what else I would combo this with. It kind of reminds me, like now that I'm thinking back on it, it kind of reminds me very faintly, not in like a copied way, but like in a like the main character, her personality traits, it just a lot of it kind of gave me like very distant reminiscent feelings of Throne of Glass. I'm hoping that keeps going throughout this series. I'm really excited for the next one to come out. But yeah, if you're looking for another one that kind of gives you those feels, I would suggest picking this up. I'm just now putting that together. I'm just now coming to that realization. While I was reading this, I was just like, this reminds me of something, but not in like a copied way. But like, I just couldn't put two and two together. Like every book that I thought of, I was like, yes, but no. I'm having a hard time putting it into words. I don't know. It just, for me personally, that may not apply for everybody, but for me personally, it just very faintly gives me those feelings of Throne of Glass in a good way. I really enjoyed this. I loved the main character. So if you're looking for something with like a simple magic system, it's not over the top. I mean, you learn the 4 elements with the gods very quickly and like the colored beads that are associated with them, and it's very easy to follow along. The world building isn't extensive. It's very easy to follow along. I mean, you have the 3 regions, and the names of them are the Shade, the Fade, the Burn. I mean, all of it's very easy to follow along. She did a good job describing the world, describing like the dragons. Like I felt like I could picture everything very quickly. Overall, I just really enjoyed it. My battery's about to die. I would definitely recommend this if you're looking for dragons, magic, fae, war, pretty good politics, good chemistry, good banter, strong female main character. This has all of that. I'm very happy with the 2 books that I read in this. The first one, I shouldn't say that I'm happy with both books that I read in this because the first one I just really didn't enjoy all that much. A little bit of a letdown, but I am looking forward to getting to the last one in that series. So I mean, I guess that's good, but very happy with this one. I think this is my first 5-star book in a while, which feels good. Anyway, if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I greatly appreciate you, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!